This week, we're going to inspire how to utilize what is going on in the world to support what you've come to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one. There's enough going on. I think we can wade into that one.
I think so. And I think that's where I want to begin with is I've noticed, well, since we've been apart for about 2 weeks now, because you went down to New Zealand for a retreat.
Yep.
That you hosted, and recognizing, and it's funny because the last episode we had, you said, if anyone goes back and listens, in the next 2 weeks, there's going to be some really big new news that's going to come into the forefront that we're going to be discussing. And this is what it is. Iran.
Iraq, Iran, Iran, whatever.
It's Iran, right?
Yeah, Iran.
Why do you say Iraq?
I walk.
Oh, God. All right. It's going to be a juicy one.
Well, I think Tom's point for me is you have to keep a light energy with all this stuff. Otherwise, it's easy to get consumed by all of the goings on. And I'd say my opening, I had a couple things with this. Like this is sucked up all the oxygen, and it should, but it sucked up all the oxygen globally. Right? It's just what's going on now. It's just become a major, major topic. So, and that's because it just has long effects. It's almost like it's at the center of the web, and when you little fly hits the web, it vibrates through everything. Right?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So imagine that happening where it's vibrating through everything. So I think my start off is just making sure I come back to what is still I need to be doing. And you were talking about that in the green room, like, well, I need to make sure I'm involved in what I need to be doing first. And while I need to be aware of it and I have my opinions on it, I need to be clear about what I'm doing now. And I'd say if the one thing, if someone were to get out of listening to what I'm saying right now, I would say, do not allow other people's fears to infect what I need to be doing. That's one of the major things, because people just get all like, what's going on? How's this going to happen? It's affecting everything from the stock market to other things and, travels. And I was just in New Zealand, and people had to switch their flights because they couldn't go back to London the normal way that they typically do because of that airspace. They don't want to travel over that airspace.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. So it has an effect. But in the end, it's like, okay, well, what plane do I need to get on now? Or how are they going to reroute it? And because I still need to get to my destination. Mm-hmm. So bottom line is I don't want to indulge in other people's opportunities, other people's fears. That's the first thing for me before I get too deep.
Yeah. So I've noticed that there's been quite a few people with lots of fears about, how's it going to influence and affect my part of the world, right? Because like you're saying, it reverberates everywhere. So for myself, it's been quite interesting because when this first started and I knew it was going to happen right after the Olympics.
Yep.
Ding, ding, they're carrying the torch to the next place and here goes the bombs. I mean, I just knew it. And they were already, setting that stage up, right?
Yep.
So it wasn't like a big surprise. But from then I noticed, because I'm at work every day and I've got, I think, MSN that comes up and it flips through, the stories. I swear the first week there must have been 3 or 4 different stories every day about what states can withhold and withstand the nuclear fallout. Mm-hmm. Where's the nuclear bombs going to go? I mean, like literally that was the energy the first week that all this was going on that the media was trying to portray.
So they want to capture our attention through our fears. So manipulate us, because it's what a stretch. I mean, it's a whole stretch, really, if there's a nuclear war, in case you're asking why, I mean, like, if you survive, great.
It's been fun. No, it's been real. It's been real fun.
So it's kind of where I go with it. But I think my 2 cents on everything is that whatever story captures my attention or whatever topic seems to impel me forward to want to research that. You know, I saw something, we had a listener suggest some topics in another YouTube podcast for us to work with. And I noticed that some of the things this fellow was talking about in his podcast was MK Ultra. And I've heard about MK Ultra and I've watched some things, but so it struck me like, well, what's that desire to get into MK Ultra and find out what that's about?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not, it's like, it's to do with UFOs and everything,
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Tom.
Mind control, I don't know, all kinds of stuff, so psychic stuff and on the behalf of the government or some grand conspiracy. So, good. I guess you don't need to know anything about that, do you? See, so you weren't attracted to that at all.
Good.
My point here is that, so what is it in me that I don't think people think of it this way, but what is that telling me about where my energy's at? That I'm really interested in something that's happening, that I get to that point where I want to hear more. I want to really go down the rabbit hole. So, because boy, the older that I get and the more experience I get, like the stories are similar stories from a long time ago. Recently there was an interview of Donald Trump from 1979 or 80 or 83 or a long time ago, a while back. And he was saying exactly the same things about Iran back then. Mm. And it reminds me of the events that had occurred. Like, this has been an ongoing story. Now, for some of you new folks or younger folks that are in your 20s, you aren't aware probably as much of the history. But anyways, I want to get back to that idea that what stories attract me during the week or in between our sessions. Why am I attracted? What is it about me spiritually? I guess because my point is I'm only going to ever take away from this lifetime my state of consciousness. Now, I need to be aware of what's in my environment and how to maneuver within that. But when it becomes out of balance, it becomes an escape from what I came to do, when I start looking outside myself constantly for some moral issue or getting all emotionally worked up.
Yeah, I like where you're going with this, Tom, because it is why we do this episode every week, is because of the fact that these stories that are outside of us or outside of our region or in other areas of the world are a mirror to what we all are going through. So I know in the green room you started talking a bit about the connections of all the things that have been going on from down south in South America to where we're at now. So I'd like you to maybe share a bit about that.
Yeah. To move into that, but carrying on to what the two of you are sharing about is, I always need to be clear about where I begin and end, what my personal direction is. And that's, without that, I am vulnerable to other people's confusion, to my own bad habits, the worst of my own bad habits. When I have my own energy clear and my own direction clear, then other people's bad habits, my own bad habits, don't take control. They're not in charge. And I'm going to use this analogy real quick because it's rather important. If you're sensitive, you're listening to this. Imagine you have a beautiful house and you have routines in that house, cleaning the floor, getting the cobwebs out, this kind of thing. But now imagine you don't do those routines. You don't mow the lawn. You don't do that. And because of whatever's going on in your life, right? Maybe there's something, more attention goes over here, so the grass starts getting higher. Mm-hmm. The weeds start coming in. The dust starts piling up in the corners. The kitchen has stuff in the sink that's not clean. The bed's not made. So here you have a picture, right? So what that does that two things. One is now when I go to set my boundaries, go to clean something, it's a big deal, right? I now have to invest days upon days to get my things back to where it was, to get that house and back to its beautiful condition for which I live, right? So now what could have been just an hour a day for the week is now becoming several days, a long weekend where I have to just sweat, do the whole thing. I blow my energy. I'm wiped out by the end of the week because I got to get it back, right? In addition, if I don't take care of it, why would I go and do that? I have to do it at some point because pretty soon the grass starts getting higher, the dust builds up, cockroaches start coming, ants start coming, snakes start coming. Symbolically, even whether it's real or symbolic, it's because I'm not taking care of my energy. I'm not taking care of my boundaries, my state of consciousness, right? A house in your dreams is the symbol of your state of consciousness. So, but let's just say that for a minute. That's the same energy with a lot of what's going on in the world today. We've had a situation where we've gotten very decadent, right? We have a lot of things that help us. We got, mobile phones that we can do everything right in our mobile. We can order things, watch things. We don't have to go anywhere, right? Our need to interact with people is less because so many things is taken care of for me. I don't have to worry about the wolves at the gate or if you're living in an organized society, there's less of people just taking advantage of things. It still happens, but it's less. My point for bringing it up is when I lose that energy of taking care of myself, when I stop setting my boundaries, when I don't have my direction clear, I need to expand. I need to move forward. Not in the greedy me first, me second, me third thing. No, I need to move forward and be of service. We're going to be talking about that in another area. But now apply that to where all the different governments have been coasting for a long time, not just a year, like decades upon decades, right?
40-something years.
Yeah. And so now we have a situation where these things have bubbled up so much that we can't do one thing without affecting something else, right? I can't even now going back to the house metaphor, I can't even go to my kitchen because I have to wade through all the dishes in the sink in order to fry up something new. I've got to go pull the stuff out and it's dirty. You see what I mean? So everything's now mixed up because there wasn't clearing things. So now we have the not so great thing of where we start bombing each other and start having these conflicts, right? But it's a consequence of not taking care of myself. It's a consequence of not keeping my direction clear. Now, I say that in the I because if I am doing my thing, that inspires other people to do their thing. And then more people do it. And then governments do it, right? And then we have more live and let live and less conflicts. But just to kind of wrap that piece up and pass the baton is, to me, this is happening and it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening for a little while. It's going to settle down soon. I have a little hope for everybody. It's going to all settle down as a globe. We're going to settle down eventually, right? It's going to take a little bit, but it'll settle down. But it's the cause, the root is because there's that lack of personal direction and that lack of taking care of my own routines and my own energy. Where too many have started to become reliant on things and not be clear with where they begin and end.
What if you didn't have to navigate uncertain times alone? What if you had a steady place to land, a place where your intuition is strengthened, not dismissed, where your spiritual questions are welcomed, and where growth feels grounded instead of overwhelming? Welcome to Reawaken. Reawaken is a monthly membership for people who know there's more awareness, more clarity, more connection, and who are ready to access it in a practical way. Inside, you'll receive monthly life regroupings to realign and refocus, ongoing tools to strengthen discernment, intuition, and emotional awareness. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about becoming steady within it. It's about learning to trust your inner compass. It's about moving from reaction to awareness, and it's about remembering who you are and walking forward with clarity. If you're ready to feel supported, aligned, and spiritually grounded, Reawaken is here. Join us and reawaken the part of you that already knows.
Yeah, it's interesting you should mention this because for literally the last 2 weeks, all I've been watching is YouTube about solo adventuring, the top of Everest, scaling, mountains by myself, bouldering, like not myself literally, but like that's where I've been going. And I'm like, why am I watching this every single day? I'm like consistently the bouldering and the mountain climbing and it really all reflects back to like what you're saying, like my solo journey is what's important to me. And when I can access and move forward with what I've come to do in my own way, everyone benefits. And so, I guess I've really kind of extricated and distanced myself a bit from all the little, details of what's really going on over there, all the, the bombings and this and that. I mean, I hear some, but at nighttime, I don't want to, I want to go solo adventuring. And it really, it's lifted me up and but it's funny because I go to work and people are like, what did did you watch this last night or did you see this on Netflix? I'm like, no, I'm all about right now YouTube and I'm just like Everest and mountain climbing and, bouldering. And it's been pretty amazing. So I'm glad you brought that up because it is a really key component for everyone right now to recognize where they're at in their journey and how to move forward with what they're here to do and their direction and the importance of it.
So we come to that word where we had a listener bring up a question about spiritual goals versus material goals. And I was sharing about my work week and how one of the key words I got, I keep getting from my guidance is easy. And I asked, for some insight into what's a good spiritual goal to focus on or remind me of what I'd like to focus on. And they suggested that, really just being myself. And I started to notice that, times when my thoughts were a little bit under pressure while I'm trying to accomplish, the work that I'm doing or being stimulated by somebody's, response or reaction to me or things I'm saying. And so I was just practicing being myself. And what's really great about that is that I'm more successful in the material world when I'm more myself. I feel better. The flow goes easier. The opportunities come up to be of service. I accomplish the mission of the business. I accomplish aspects of the mission. And it's really great. So I know that it's important. I want to add, it's important for me to know what's going on in my environment. And I guess where I really could do a better job is asking my guidance, what energy am I going to start picking up on? So what I mean by energy is what are the thoughts and feelings that are going to be kind of pervasive in my environment that I need to be more aware of? It's a balance, and if I came to work with, at this particular time of my life, if I came to be in the military, I'm past that, kind of a thing this lifetime, then, I'd be whole hog into that and I'd have something to do with it, but that's not my opportunity right now. So it's important to stay informed, but not allow it to move me from my purpose in the moment.
Okay. So 100%. So with the concept, with the energy of minding my business, right? The business of me, is number one. I am naturally, just for or if people don't know me, I am naturally inquisitive about what's going on in my environment and in the news and stuff. So I have to be cautious with that, right? I know that it can affect me. I'll watch a story, I'll see something like that, and I'll be like, I can get affected that. So I've learned the hard way how that can stimulate me, but the need to, what does it all mean? It means that I need to be aware of things, but it has to have a purpose.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so talking about spiritual goals, how that's spiritual goals, material goals. My spiritual goals are number one. They are number one. They are what I take with me. I cannot take my material goals with me. But my material goals are fun. They are part of what making life great. Enjoy. If people are interested in making a lot of money, great, go for it. It's fun. It's nice to have material abundance, right? If you want a car, you want a nice house, you want to have partners, great, go for it. All of them, however, are based on my spiritual goals. I need to make sure I don't make those more important than what I've come to do. And that's why that it's a misnomer that they say that money is the root of all evil. That is not what it's about. It's the love for money is the root of all evil. In other words, I am making something outside of myself more important than me and my purpose, my energy, my helpers, what I've come to do. That's what that's about. Have all the money you want. Have it all. But don't make sure I need to remember it's all a means to an end. That brings me full circle back to these stories, like the Iran thing, is important because it tells me, right, there's a momentum here. There's something going on that's going to happen with or without me. That this thing, this transition that's happening, whether you're for it or against it, it's going to happen. This is happening. So now it becomes, okay, let me take that higher perspective and tune into the momentum so that I can work with it. If I don't come at that perspective, I'm going to be tossed around and churned in the current of the ocean. It's like being right, for those people who've ever been in the ocean, it's like being right in that point where the wave crashes, where it's like it builds up and then it crashes and then it tumbles into the shore. Mm-hmm. It would be like positioning myself right where it crashes, right? Everyone bang, and then, oh God, then stand back up, bang, oh my God. And then I wonder why I'm tired, Well, no, you don't position yourself there. You position yourself either further out or further in so you don't get crashed on. And that's what I mean is there's an energy here that's been being stimulated for decades upon decades, and it's global. It's not, Iran just happens to be the thing at the moment. This is going to expand out, not from a war perspective. I don't foresee that. I see that the change is going to be happening everywhere. So now that I know that there's a momentum, I can actually work with that. I can actually be of service with that. I know that there's something afoot for change. There's something here that is calling me, calling you. You brought up about the climbing thing. Oh my gosh, how wonderful is that? That is like a symbol of saying, no, I need to go and do my thing. So anyway, without getting too off on a tangent there, it's calling to me. It's calling to everyone to go be that pioneer, to go climb those mountains, to use it and not get caught up in the fear or worry or anxiety.
Yeah, so I guess where I want to go with this next is that when these things happen in the world, especially around the United States and especially around Donald Trump, that there are obviously opposing sides. Some people, you hate them or you love them.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many in the middle, one side or the other. But I was tuning into. I know we do.
We do.
We're in the gray area.
We're in the
right in the middle. But the other day I was tuning into it, as as I was hearing people being pissed about Trump and hearing people going, okay, well, it's a good direction. I was like, okay, Spirit, what is this really about? Like, or what would the outcome have been if this didn't occur? And it would have not been good.
right.
Like, people have no idea. Most people
Right.
have their heads in the sand and have no clue as far as what could have been the next step into all of our destiny if this did not occur, if we didn't take out these people that have, armory and different things over in the desert, right? Like taking out these areas. So it really was very fascinating when I tuned into it and the outcome that could have come across if we did not go into this scenario.
I completely agree.
So I think that really is another part of utilizing what's going on and recognizing in our own lives, where are we that we maybe have our head in the sand and not really recognizing the truth of what could happen if I don't take that, that direction A or that direction B, and I go to C, what's going to happen around that. And so that's what I wanted to share about, just a little bit about the, again, utilizing the energy, utilizing the situation to recognize for myself that when it's time to move, I damn move.
I think, what strikes me is I have an insight into the world that we live in, and I like to watch historical shows and where they explain the things that have really happened over time. And this has been one heck of a place. I mean, planet Earth over the eons, and it's only been the last couple of 100 years or 150 years or 20 years that we've even had as much peace as we have. I mean, or that you can raise as your new grandson can walk into a world where he's not going to be worried about being sold into slavery, for example, by his parents, for money. We're well beyond that. But yet for eons, that was an issue in capturing each other. And whenever a war happened, you came back with slaves. That was all part of the deal. So what strikes me is that we'll tolerate a certain amount of imbalance and disrespect and lack of live and let live. And then there's a point of no return where we better nip this in the bud or reclarify our boundaries at a higher level. And then, but realize, for me, it's just realizing there's many levels of consciousness here. So I respect people's right to, the soul's right in the bigger picture in the longer term to evolve through all those opportunities. And, I like to say too that, I'd say I love Trump. I don't always enjoy his behavior. I love you. I love, all sorts of folks. I don't always enjoy, I wouldn't necessarily approve of I would do something different or say it a different way or that kind of thing. And I think that by saying that, which is interesting because I even have a fear of saying that, I'm talking on a spiritual soul to soul level, And so let's distinguish between people's behavior versus that soul and what they're moving through.
Their personality too. Their personality, right?
Yeah, their personality, yeah. And also that there's just, my spiritual perspective. And so I say, what's in it for me with these historical shows? Like I've been watching that one about Ken Burns's about the American Revolution, and I've watched some other videos and, about even the history of slavery. And it's just fascinating. I can tune into lifetimes I've had as a slave owner, as a pirate, as a guardian, as a, and in some ways, like I almost might not recognize myself if I was to meet myself spiritually of 1,000 years ago. But I've had to move through those states of consciousness to get to where I am here. And, I have to be patient as I grow and as others grow. So I have to be, well, why do I say I have to be? It's just it's smoother. I can focus on the part that I came to do and know that I'm evolving and improving. And then I want to hand it off to you, Teresa, and talk about the bigger picture with your next on the list, the universe.
Next on the list.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be. We'll be able to go right back to this because they're tied into me.
Yeah.
They're tied into me. This is a good story.
Well, yeah, I was just, I always like to kind of find something positive. Not that we're not talking positive here,
Yeah,
because we sure are, or how to access what's going on into a positive influence into people's lives. But I was like, what's going on positive? And I found this one that was really cool, and it was about strong solar activity. Because for the last couple of weeks too, it's been really on. And I was like, so what is it? What's the deal with this? I just looked up, honestly, I'll say I use ChatGPT. And I was like, so, what is the spiritual aspect around, strong solar activity happening? And the key words that came up were, there's a heightened sensitivity in people, right. Emotional intensity and awakening. So I thought that was really interesting because we've had so much, and I'm sure most people have no clue about the solar activity that's coming off the sun consistently, and lately it's been big flares. And I often go back a few years and say, at one point I am so sensitive that I would actually feel, and then I'd look up and I'm like, oh my God, there was a flare that left the sun today. Like I would literally feel it in my body. So yeah, I just want to talk a bit about that with the heightened everything we have going on. To whoever wants to.
I'll start. So this is another example of what, for me, what I've been picking up and what I've been working with and discerning is there's always a bigger thing going on, and it helps to temper the challenges I can experience or the emotions that can come up. Or confusion that wants to get involved in life, right? So I'm a part of things, whether I like it or not, spiritually and physically. I'm just a part of things. The joke is, well, we got 9 planets in the solar system and we got 9 holes in the body. We can't get away from it, and we're affected, when it's a full moon, you have a bump in blood pressure. When it's a new moon, there's another type of bump, lower in blood pressure. We're a part of this galaxy system. We're a part of this solar system. And there's things even beyond that we can't see that we're a part of rhythms and routines. And this solar flares, these solar energy is another example of how it will stimulate things. Isn't it interesting that the peak of this is now we're in this Iran thing, and there is a connection to all this. So I'm not going to be able to go and wag my finger at the sun and say, hey, could you settle down so that we can have less wars and less stuff going on in my job and workplace, So I'd like to have this nice, calm situation at my workplace. Well, that's not going to happen. I'm a speck on a little thing, what the solar system is doing. My point for bringing it up from that perspective is I'm experiencing that. Everybody's experiencing that at the different layers on different levels. And going back to your point about, who's in power, I was sharing this in New Zealand when I was doing my little program. I love the Labour government. I love the Liberal government. I love the Democrats. I love the Republicans. I love them not because they're good or it's the right thing to do. I love them because I'm whole and I know where they fit. And that allows me to have that healthy mistrust. Put that in your little bag of tricks there, ladies and gentlemen. A healthy mistrust, not an unhealthy, a healthy mistrust, because I know that they're over there somewhere. And yes, it affects me, but I still have my purpose, my energy. And so why do I say that? Because if there's going to be this energy affecting things out there, whether it's a Mercury goes into retrograde or there's a solar flares, and that's going to have an immediate effect on me beyond the normal routines, then if I don't know myself, if I'm not clear with my own energy, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to spark off with my own solar flares because I'm being affected by this. And it just takes one little person to say the quote unquote wrong thing to me, and now I'm off, right? So same thing with this whole thing that's going on. And that we're just talking about the big news with Iran. Imagine that's going to happen when I'm in traffic. Imagine what's going to happen with my loved ones. It's going to be the same routine where I get off on these things, and then the fear comes and the bad habits come if I let myself. Or I can use it to stimulate me to project and climb those mountains. I can use it to get more insights. And that's that bigger picture for me. That's the power of what we have here if I'm willing to look at the bigger picture and apply it to what I've come to do.
Well, I love that. It takes a bit of practice for me to go, well, why am I getting stimulated here? But what I'm taking away from the emotional intensity that the sun seems to be putting out, that people are, how I relate to that is that I'm more sensitive to my thought patterns or the roles that I play in a situation, or how I react to somebody pushing their weight around or something like that at work and not being fair. So if I'm overreacting, if I'm getting, it's a great opportunity to get stimulated. Great, I got stimulated. Oh boy, I didn't enjoy that. So what's the concept in me? What's the fear in me? You might say, where's the confusion? So one of the things I love about tuning into the universe and the size of the universe is that in some ways, it's as impractical as me tuning into what's going on in Iran.
Right.
Well, because it's, where I live, I'm not really I'm going to see some prices go up at the pump, but I mean, this goes up and down. I mean, I've still got to show up to work and pay my mortgage and have fun, and all the normal things aren't really going to change day to day. So I like being reminded of just how big the big picture is. And so that I can tune in to, say, the Iran war and go, God, that's just like a little thing happening on a little planet out of the trillions of, not billions of planets, out of the billions of suns and trillions of planets and the trillions of, hundreds of trillions of galaxies, that, I mean, it's just so mind-blowing that it's, what I get out of that is a peaceful feeling.
Right.
And that, the bigger picture, it's going to carry on. So that's what I mean. I mean, I work with that for inspiration to just tune me back into the bigger picture. Right. Whilst I'm moving within my smaller picture of what I came to work on. But there's something that feels freeing. I just have to focus on my role as my soul in this body. That's, to me, where the spiritual goal comes in. It's just this feeling of all of a sudden I just relax and feel like everything's okay.
Yeah, the key word that I get about all this is amplification.
Yeah.
So it's just a moment in time, like all the other moments in time, that there's an amplification to really focus on and access the energy to do what I've come to do.
Yes.
And I've noticed that in people. So some people are like excelling in what they're here to do. And I'm like, my God, look what they're doing. And then some people are turning the other way.
I'm getting chills.
And they're going towards, I'll say, the dark side. No.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm like, okay. And then some people right now are also are really amplifying their healing process. So people are sick. People
Right.
are in cancers. People are in, rehabs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, ways that people are using the energy right now to amplify what they've come to do in the next step. So that to me is a really big key of all the energy from Iran and from, the situations in the world, as well as the solar energy and the energy from the universe. All these components are here right now for amplification.
Yeah, and I get a lot of chills on what you're saying. I just it really resonates. So there's something there. There's something there for people who are listening to this to be able to use that and recognize, hey, it's just energy, and it's getting amplified. So what do I want to do with it? How do I direct that? And the other thing I was thinking about as you were sharing, and particularly with Iran and the effects and what's going to happen after that, right? Because my feelings tell me this is going to wrap up a lot sooner than people think, as opposed to some elongated situation.
I'll go on the record and say I feel the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel, when I feel into it, it just feels like it's pretty quickly it's going to be settled.
and then the energy is going to turn to something else, right? And then that will be the next thing to complain about or worry about or stuff like that. But on this particular area, there's something underneath that needs to come out, right? And Persia, for those who know anything about history, this was an amazing empire. I mean, mathematics and I mean, that whole side of the world used to be tremendous enlightenment, and amazing things came from it, from what came from that area. And in Iran happens to be the seat of that. Just more in its more recent history, it's really getting oppressed.
Yeah.
But my point for bringing it up is there's that old Persian, and I mean that's in a positive way. I mean this in a positive. Is that old Persian energy needing to come out again, right? And that's what I see everywhere. Is there's these things that need to come back out again and flourish in a positive way. And could this be done in a better way? Probably. I'm a real live and let live kind of guy. So I prefer, hey, let's do it with greater ease than, wear and tear. But if I've not kept my house clean, something's going to move in and make me clean the damn house. So this is where we're at, whether I like it or not. So that energy of amplification is here. It's here, whether I like it or not. And I can utilize that right now. We're still kind of in the beginning of the year, right? We're still a little bit in the beginning of the year.
First quarter.
Spiritually, however, the spiritual year starts a little bit earlier. So we're actually halfway through the spiritual year right now. So there's momentum building up. And if I can utilize this energy, whether it's the solar flares, whether it's the whole shifting going on, if I can utilize this right now and ask my helpers, ask the universe, hey, I'd like to ride this wave. I'd like to be a part of this. Don't be too proud to ask, right? Hey, I want to have those greater insights. I want to feel better. I want to be healthier. Let's utilize this. Utilize it. Then I'm going to start opening myself up to all this extra energy and pipeline it into what I want to do, into what I've come to do. And people are going to get into, you are going to get insights. If you're listening to this, you will get insights if you ask. Just be open enough, move away from the emotions, move away from the fear, and open yourself up. And then things like, I'm going to use your story for a second, things like, Teresa, your story about the climbing and the bouldering. This is a very symbolic thing. This is powerful, right? Like spirit is saying something there. And I'm sure you've had similar things yourself. So all these things don't happen in some vacuum. This is not a coincidence. There's no such thing as that kind of luck. It's connected. So to me, that energy of the powerful solar flares and how it's affecting and all this amplification is a great word of what do I want to do with it? How can I utilize this to better myself and be of greater service. And then trust me, the more of us do that, the more all this stuff starts smoothing out
in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like a wrap-up for you. Was that a wrap-up?
I can make it a wrap-up if you'd like.
That was pretty darn good, Tiger. I like it. What's your wrap-up on this, Tom?
Well, that's why we have the reawakening memberships, is to help focus and what energy is being amplified, every month. And right now we're talking to you in the month of March, and the key word for the month is play. And we have a Wayshower's philosophy, which basically is some paragraphs on some key words to work with every month, and home study programs to, help you really unfold that direct communication with your guidance and get it clearer and clearer, become more aware of the concepts or the thought patterns that we have that hold us back from just being our awareness, being our love and light, and honestly moving through the world more successfully with more of a flow and back in that loving feeling, so to speak.
Well said, Tom. I like it. So we want to thank you for listening into another episode of Spiritual Perspective Discerning News. And it was great to be back in the room with everybody and back in the same time zone and everything. And wherever you're at, just remember that what's going on, how you utilize the energies can actually be easy. It can be something that you find impelling, directed from within, bringing it outward. And then gathering with other people and other like-minded souls can really help amplify what you're going through and support you in ways you have no idea. So until next week, we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.